Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. Today I'm gonna quickly start with a couple of gear upgrades. I did a little bit of upgrading and trading in between episodes, and after that we're gonna run the two temples, Solaris and a Lunaris temple. So let's get started. First of all, I upgraded my weapons. The small sword, I believe this was a drop. I mastercrafted the increased physical damage on top, and it's a pretty substantial increase. Similarly, this axe, I believe this is also just alching it. I was really lucky with the roll. Again, pretty good damage upgrade. So after that, I did a couple more upgrades. I traded for this helmet. This one has some chaos resistance on it. So we now have 29 points of chaos resistance, which means we are positive on chaos resistance now, which was my goal. I want at least be positive and eventually get it up to 50%, but this is a very good start. The helmet has more armor and evasion than the previous one, but I did lose out some cold resistance. I believe my previous helmet had some cold resistance, and I think my previous sword might have had some cold resistance, so I lost some of that. So I upgraded this one, just turned it from a white one with an Orb of Alchemy, and got some decent stats from this. I got some intelligence, life on hit, and I crafted some fire on it. And then I traded for a belt, and I specifically looked for something that gave me cold resistance, some lightning resistance, and a bunch of life to make sure that all my resistances are at least topped off in a cruel difficulty. So that's a bunch of small upgrades. Well, we're gonna go do Piety, perhaps Dominus today. That's always, for me personally, that's always the point where I go over my gear and just make sure that my resistances are solid, that my life is solid, and that I'm just in a pretty good state and least likely to die. So, having a bit of a look to see where we actually have to go. Could be that we have to backtrack a little bit and head to the top side. So it looks like yeah, see, this is where the entrance is. So we went back too far. That's okay. That's all okay. We are pretty speedy. So leap slam is great for going up height differences like this, and yeah, there we are. We are near Solaris Temple. Suddenly the air is abuzz with ribbons. And we're doing generally fine. Okay. I believe I still have a Vaal invasion. So Lunaris Temple is gonna be once again going to be possessed. Just like we redid it in a normal difficulty. And we might get surprised once or twice by some other random prophecy triggers, which is always fun. Oh, just some little bit of variety. It's the spice of life, as they say. The spices are good; they make food tasty. So, if you add some spice to life, then life is tasty. I'm not quite sure how long that metaphor holds up. You wouldn't eat a life now, would you? Hello there, Ribbon Parade, Voltaxic Seal, and Infernal Seal. I think this is time for a totem. We get a bouncy totem. Or that's more a smashy totem, isn't it? It's not quite a punchy totem because we're not boxing, but this guy, it really does hammer home the message that we are not to be messed with. Also, why do I have knockback? Oh yeah, we had a what should we call it? A shrine effect that was causing knockback, which is rather annoying in this case. Though on the other hand, if we cause bleeding, then knockback will make enemies move, and if enemies move while bleeding, they take a lot more bleeding damage. Okay, replenishing shrine, that's fine with me. So Solaris Temple, usually not that scary. Back in the day, the two unique ribbons earlier on, they were pretty scary. At least I found them to be pretty scary. These days, no, not really. But similarly, I used to think coal was pretty scary, and now it's just he's more or less a speed bump. I wonder if that's just an evolution in how I play, or in how I build my builds, or how I make gear myself. Because of course now, the more you play, the more experience you get, the more you will just develop things, just like habits, and just mental checklists of like, I need like this much life before doing this boss. I need this much resistances, or no, need to have my character in a certain state before I do certain things. Before going into the dominus fight, having a flask that removes bleeding, for example, that's always a very useful one. Now having some life, also very useful. Now aiming for at least 1000 life by the end of Act 1, preferably getting closer to 1500. Or not Act 1, but normal difficulty. Similarly here, 1800 life, I might be a bit on the low end. But I feel that I've got quite some sustainability, so I can get away with it. But I would be a bit more comfortable having over 2000 life. Just as it's an arbitrary number, but arbitrary numbers are pretty useful to measure yourself against. In my case, the biggest thing, of course, is I'm running around with a tabula rasa. That's a very clear trade-off. Tabula, it allows you to run around with a 6-link. The trade-off is you don't get any defenses from your body armor. That's I'd say that's a very fair trade-off. We got everything we want / need from here. Might as well just empty our pockets a bit and then we just run for it. You get away. So one-handed axe, level 45, not really that good. Rockbreaker, it's nice for smashing maps, but other than that I'm not using hammers. 22 all attributes, that makes this interesting. This adds a bunch of stats as well. But I'll have to look at the amulets in more detail. So let's add them to the toxic Viking thingamajig. Okay. And then we go back to the warehouse sewers. Let's unclog them. But yeah, normally if you run around with an actual body armor, then by this point in the game you're gonna have a 4-link. And body armor is gonna contribute at least 400, maybe even 500 armor and evasion. While I'm currently running around with 700 armor and 1900 evasion. So my defenses are subpar. That's a clear trade-off. And you usually would get like 50 health. Oh yeah, holding the bridge prophecy. For that, once you come out here, you need to actually go in this direction. Since down there is going to be 2 uniques. There's going to be the bodyguard of hatred, or the blackguard of hatred. Yeah, and then there's going to be the blackguard of wraith, or wrath, not a wraith. That's ghost. Wrath is just anger. And they drop loot. I like loot. Might have mentioned that once or twice. But because I'm boosting my defenses by quite a bit, if I had life on my body armor, I probably would have been over 2000, and I would have more armor, so I would reduce physical damage by more. I would have more evasion, so I would dodge more attacks or evade more attacks, so I would get less hits in total, therefore giving my Leech and Regen more time to kick in. So all in all, with the tabula I made a massive trade-off. I sacrificed a bunch of defenses in order to get a 6-link for my primary attack. And as a result, I'm doing insane damage. I mean, I'm currently doing 850 damage per second after the damage, the weapon upgrades, that is. And because I've got quite a bunch of leech stacked, I mean, I'm physical damage, I'm leeching 5%, non-physical damage, I'm leeching 2%. And now the leech efficiency is almost doubled. So I'm gaining a lot of life back once I manage to hit something. And my life pool is nothing but just a buffer that I can fill up with potential life leech. Maybe a little bit of a weird way to think about it, but no, as I've said before, this build is at its most ideal when you're hovering at about 80 or 90% of your life rather than at full life, because once you hit full life, all your life regen stacks fall off. There is an ascendancy for one of the classes that actually changes that life leech doesn't drop or doesn't stop when you reach full life, but I don't believe that is a duelist, or at least it's not the guardian or the gladiator that I'm playing. And I chose the gladiator because of the bleeding and the bleeding interactions that looked interesting. So let's see, there's the door. Ooh, a whole legion of laggards. So we fulfilled one prophecy and we tumble straight into another one. Vaal Invasion, and if I remember correctly. Ooh, yes, you. Can I open the door for you? Yes, please go through. Come on. If we're lucky, it might possess the boss. Come on. No, stupid ghost. Okay, now you're gonna die. Or disappear, whatever comes first. Right. So last time the Vaal Invasion boss kind of greeted us in one of the first rooms. This time it doesn't, but it would have been nice to have it possessed, so it would be a challenge. Yeah, and I realized that once you speak of having something that's pretty close in power to an act boss, wanting it to get possessed in order to make it a challenge, then you could argue that as a hardcore player you're maybe a little bit on the suicidal side of things, but hey, I'm slightly overconfident, well, more than slightly overconfident, and that's how I get. I look for challenges when they are not presented by normal gameplay. Because in the end the game is as challenging as you make it for yourself. And, well, currently we're so really powerful that I could do with more challenges. Ooh, that's a pretty nice armor. But level 46. Every time I see an item like this, I'm like, yeah, is it time to give up my tabula and switch to something more defensive? And every time I think about it and I think about it some more, and then in the end I'm like, yeah, let's stick with the tabula for a little bit, because I don't want to give up my 5th and or 6th link to get it. I do have a prophecy queued up that I can just instantly 5-link an item. So once I start running maps, that might be very useful. Hello there, Echo of the Vaal. Next to Cole's room, that's gonna be interesting. He might just randomly pop in. Hello there. Let's not get hit by your melee smash. Oh, let's summon a totem. And we're just smashing through. Well, it's the Echo of the Vaal, right? It's, hello. Yeah, hello. So, punchy totem is punchy. I just put an extra one. Good. Nearly got it. It's going slower than previous time. That's good. And we got it. Okay, we have some items that we need to get rid of. Let's quickly go to town. And just put this all in a sorting box. Wait, this one was part of the greater plan. See, this is the previous incarnation of the plan. Interesting. Ah, wait, yeah, this is higher level, but it doesn't have quality, and the quality makes this better, so this is actually worse. Yeah, you. Get away. We don't want you anymore. Also, let's get some more prophecies. Mysterious gift. Ugh. Yet again. It's gonna be my 7th one. Hungering swarm. Large packs of insects. Sure, fine. And the corrupts. You will slay a powerful enemy in the Vaal side area and it will drop a Vaal orb. So, the mysterious gift. I'm actually gonna seal it yet again. Boom. And then we grab another one that might be useful. Master seeks help. Cool. We get a vegan side quest in another area. So, prophecies. I got this prophecy sealed up 7 times. And I tried. There is this recipe that if you add 6 of the same item and you try to sell it to a vendor, you get something back that's of the same kind. Doesn't work for prophecies, unfortunately. Ooh, primary for rapier. That's not what we're using though. Different type of modifier. Let's go for the chest splitter. Okay, we'll just add it to the box. So I tried getting a random prophecy, but that's failed, unfortunately. Alright, so then Cole, hello there. Cole? Yes, hello. Here, have a totem. Okay, so he hurts more. But that just means we hit our flasks, get some armor up. I mean, if we hit armor, we got 72% damage reduction against foes of our own level. So it's not like we are completely helpless. It's just that our default state is under-armored. Okay. And then we just move on to level 2. I mean, Cole is always the Cole and the unique resurrection guy. They're always the height of excitement of this level. Outside of that, it's just trash mobs and some rares. There's a door open here. There's the waypoint, which we can take. Level 2. Onwards to piety. So it looks like going to be the lovely ladies over here that will shoot at us. They have a habit of being rather painful to deal with for some characters. We'll see how it's going to be for us, since we are rather mobile. We will just go through and just stab them in the back before they really realize what happens. Similarly for Spinecrack, he never realized what was happening to him until he was dead. The reverse of that argument I can also make. I didn't really realize that Spinecrack was standing there until he was dead. Apparently, if we tank it, it's also all fine. Well, being bombarded by those tentacle ladies, it really does help us with our Immortal Call setup. Since if we take 500 points of damage, it's gonna trigger, and for half a second we're not taking any physical damage. So they bombard you, it gets over, and then the rest of the bombardment is just ignored. So it gives you valuable time to respond to situations like that. Which is the prime benefit of Immortal Call. It gives you reaction time. It's not an I win button. It just buys you reaction time to get out of ugly situations. If you are using endurance charges, which we will later on, but if you have endurance charges, then it will stay up for longer, for a few seconds, and it might eventually become part of your survival strategy. Against physical damage only, of course. Elemental damage you usually have maxed, so then chaos damage remains the true enemy. But because we are life based rather than energy shield based, chaos damage is easier to deal with. We have way more life and therefore a way bigger buffer to deal with it. And because the chaos damage is usually not the primary component of damage, but rather it's part of the damage. It's only a very rare few enemies that only do chaos damage. That might be a side area. Yeah. Okay. Let's just round it out. But if you have life, then chaos damage is never gonna bypass any part of your defenses like an energy shield character would have when chaos damage just bypasses your energy shield. That's what I noticed really on my Frostcaster Shadow, where now 3/4 of my health pool was just made up of energy shield, and if you encountered foes that did strong chaos damage, or just the majority of their damage being chaos damage, then just poof, your life instantly vaporizes. So that's why for this character I'm putting a stronger emphasis on chaos resistance, and why we're going life. Because life is pretty good if you're focusing on life. Surprisingly enough. Yes. Ooh, yeah. Most of the elementals died before they even appeared on the shores. That was kind of funny to watch. And the final ramp. Then I always pick the wrong side. Well, often pick the wrong side. Looks like this was actually the right side. Yay for me. Okay, and there are the doors. There's not enough enemies nearby enough to really warrant staying there and killing them. Level 53, this is a 52 area, so we did catch up with the level curve. So we shouldn't skip too much content and instead focus on killing things to keep our XP up and keep our levels up. Let's see, it's gonna be this way or it's gonna be the other way. Yeah, this just loops back, so that means the exit's gonna be up there somewhere. One of the nice things of having a leap slam is that we can just jump over the walls here. It's one of the rare areas where you can actually do that. Most of the time you don't. Oh. Seriously, yes. The poison had caught him. He was dying, he just didn't realize. Oh, now we have to go there. I'm drawing the conclusion because there's nothing, the level started from this area, so it's unlikely that the exit's gonna be there. Because then I would have probably seen something from the other side of the wall. Hello, what a warm welcome you have for me. Maybe I should hit you, yes. What's that? Enfeeble. Oh yeah, probably not intelligent enough to level it. See, thought so. Getting enough stats points is definitely the challenge of this build. Interestingly, it counts for both dex and intelligence. Especially early on. Later on you get enough dex, sort of kinda. Intelligence will just remain an issue forever. And ever and ever. Ooh, Keepers of the Trove. That sounds promising. That's a Bloodlines pack. They have a treasure trove to share with me. Also, that's a whole bunch of chain hauberks. Wonder if they all drop the same base item as a Bloodlines mod. That's why they're keeping the trove. That is the trove, maybe. Okay, and then it's piety time, or piety o'clock. Maybe I should click the portal. Yeah. Go. For you, the honor. We'll put up a totem. Okay. Good. So, totem up. She has been slowed with temp change. And she's dead. Goodbye, piety. It was fun not knowing you. someone had to put a stop to all this ugliness. So everybody rejoicing, Piety is dead, long live Piety. And then Greiger, he's gonna be very happy. Get 2 passive skill points. Hallelujah. So let's see, we have completed Hematophagy down there. We have our Leech, so our next goal, Warrior's Blood, and after that Heart of the Warrior. So Warrior's Blood is gonna give us 1.8% of our life regenerated per second. So in town our Stone Golem is not up, so this is just base regen. If we apply it, we go from 50 to nearly 90. So this is quite a boost. It's really nice to have. Also increases our stun threshold, so I believe that will make us less likely to get stunned, which is always nice to have. And strength means more life and more physical damage, so it just scales everything, which is tremendously good. And with that, I think we have reached the end of this episode. So next episode we're gonna go after Dominus, and we're probably gonna do the first bits of Act 4. Then after that we have Kam and the Resso to do. Then we got Malachi, then we got Izaro, but we are getting pretty close to the end of Cruel Difficulty. And after that things get truly interesting, because Merciless is where the game truly begins. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.